It was awesome. I was a tomboy. I played football in the street. We climbed trees. We jumped fences. And I went to Pecan Springs Elementary, Blanton Elementary, Pierce Middle School, and then graduated from LBJ High School. I do down to earth nostalgic type themes. I do spiritual themes. I paint angels. I paint kids. I try to paint uplifting designs to kind of remind people how things used to be. We would wish things to go back to where they were, but we can't. So that's what I try to paint. I like Leonardo da Vinci. I like Claude Monet, Jackson Pollock. I also admire another artist that was born here, Deborah Roberts, because I was one of the Success Comes in Cannes kids for her summer art program. I was born in '74, so fast forward in the early '80s, I remember the Aquafest. My dad took me to Aquafest. That's back then. If you don't know about Aquafest, it's a big festival. Had the skipper pins, had soul night, country western night. All the kids wanted to come and get the little glow in the dark necklaces, and you take them home, put them in the freezer so they can last. Sliding down on the auditorium shores on the cardboard boxes, sliding down. I remember the City Coliseum. My dad used to take me to the wrestling matches to watch the Von Erichs. Not wrestling like it is today, but wrestling back then. The Palmer Auditorium. It's not called the Palmer Auditorium anymore, and actually that's where I graduated from. But a lot of stuff, buildings have changed, and look, you kind of like I remember when it used to be, certain places like the Holiday Houses. My mom used to work at the Holiday House. I used to go to work with her sometimes. A lot of people don't know the Holiday House on Barton Springs had the alligator Charlie in the aquarium. So just stuff like that. I just remember, the old movie theaters and stuff like that. So when, people come in and change and build and tear down things, you kind of miss the old landmarks and stuff like that. Actually, we lived on Singleton, so we moved from Singleton to Manor Road area. So I vaguely remember staying at Singleton. My brother going to the old L.L. Campbell, which is now Garcia, I believe it is now. So I was over there. I remember actually, it's a funny story. I locked myself in the restroom, and my parents at the time thought that it was by accident. No, I locked myself in there to get away from my older brother and sister because they were teasing me. So I just remember sitting on the toilet, and they're like, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." I just didn't want to come out because they was teasing me, pulling my ears, pushing me around. So I went to the restroom, so no one should bother you when you're in the restroom. So I locked myself in there, and I wouldn't come out. And so to get me out of there, they called the fire department to get me out of there. So yeah. And it was to the point where I didn't care if I got in trouble because they were just messing with me the whole day. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the restroom. So I just stayed, and that was off of Singleton. It's a lot of stories that they tell me, but I vaguely remember too. Another story. I'm like the baby of all the cousins of my mother's siblings, and so all the cousins were over at the house, and they were bored, and I was told. You have to ask them, but I was told they were playing church and they were playing funeral, and they put me on the ironing board, and I was the baby, and I was the person at the funeral, and so my cousin is preaching and stuff like that. But what happened was I rolled off and I hit my head. And they started screaming, "Oh, she dead for real. They gonna kill us." And so they told me that story. I'm like, what? Y'all put me on the ironing board and you let me roll off? And so I'm trying to figure out how to make that into a picture, because now that I hear it, I'm pretty sure it hit my head. They said I didn't cry, so that's what really scared them, that I did not cry. But I'm like, dang, y'all should have been playing funeral, no way. But kids being creative, yeah. So it's a lot of different stories. I'm like, no, y'all did that? Yes, they did. Yeah, my mom coming up, she was born in Manor, and she used to tell me, how they would get all the old textbooks and stuff from the white Manor school and stuff like that. And she told me how, they made their own clothes for school. That's how she, knew how to sew and stuff like that. And she remembered picking cotton and how they had to wait for the bus. They had to walk a mile or two, to the bus. And I'm like, wow. And a lot of our kids today, because I work with MSU, a lot of them don't even want to walk down the street to get on the bus stop to get on the bus to go anywhere. So just to hear that and hear my mom say they had an outhouse and not a regular restroom, and they didn't have electricity. They had lanterns and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow. So you just really don't know how blessed you really are until you start hearing the stories and certain things that we take for granted. I mean, we walk in the room and cut the light on, but I couldn't imagine, having a lantern and going out late at night to an outhouse and have to put a stick in there to make sure nothing's crawling in there. I mean, so we just really don't know how blessed we are. And in Texas heat, I could imagine picking cotton. My God, no. So I just thank God for when I was born, but just to hear the stories like that, having the opportunities that we have now, and really just listen to the stories of our elders on how truly blessed we are, even though as blacks, we've gone through a lot, but we've overcome a lot. That's we're a strong people. So it's just really encouraging. It kind of humbles you, like, wow, my mom picked cotton. Wow, to live on the place where they stayed and work for the people, and and so it's very humbling to because I can't imagine skin peeling off your back because of the heat and stuff like that, but you had to get a certain amount of cotton picked. Wow, I just can't fathom it. I am a visual artist. I'm a poet. I put on community events, but I also do social services. I have several contracts where I work with organizations, and I get, a file caseload with kids. Some kids may be on juvenile probation, dual diagnosis. So not only do I work with the youth, I work with the parents as well. So I try to steer them and try to, put them on the right track. I see it's a disconnect. I remember coming up, we could go over grandmother's house and play, and we had the extended family support and stuff like that, and you don't see a whole lot of the extended family support like when I was growing up. Yeah, I think we got too many people already, and a lot of people coming here, and it seems like the more outsiders come in, it seems like the people that are the native Austinites, born and raised here, kind of seem to get overshadowed when new people come, and so that kind of puts a bad taste in some Austinites' mouth that, okay, born here, raised here, I've done here, and I just don't seem to get the support here that someone coming in from the outside, with all the politics and stuff like that, whether it's in the community, whether it's city things, and it's like people coming in from the outside, not being born or raised here, they get a different perspective than those that have lived here, and we can see things a different way. Well, I think the cost of living is high in Austin, and when you're raising the taxes, gentrification, people coming in, buying houses on the east side, redoing the houses, making them humongous, larger than some of the other houses on the block. So that automatically is probably going to make the taxes go up. A lot of building, and it seems like I can remember driving down different streets where it was just, just land there, and to not go by that place maybe 3 to 6 months, and then you see apartment complexes. Okay, when did they have the time? It seemed like it just appeared. I know it didn't, but it just seems like that, and it seems like, okay, now they're planning to build another hotel downtown. Do we have room for another hotel downtown? And so it just seems like it's just pile, stack, and so it's like, where's the home styleness? I remember being able to play in the street, and the streets were so wide where even with the cars parked on both sides, we had enough room to play in the street. But now it seems like streets are so narrow and houses are so close together that you really don't see the new houses. It really doesn't seem like there is a backyard. They don't have a backyard because they want everybody to share the park. Well, I remember growing up in a big backyard, big front yard and backyard, and still able to play in the street. And still, if I wanted to, go to the park. So I just see a lot of different stuff. Like, I mean, it just feels so closed in. To be active in a child's life, go to the schools. Don't just go when there's a problem. Do surprise visits at the school, from daycare all the way up to high school. and that's like a disconnect. I hear a lot of parents getting upset about how their kid is being treated in the school, and I'm like, have you gone to the school? It's so many times where you have back to school night, PTA night, and it's not a whole lot of parents to show up. You need to get to know the teachers, because if teachers and staff know a kid has support, they're going to be careful on how they treat that kid. So I mean, somebody has some support, you're gonna do what you need to do according to that child. But not to say teachers are bad, but if you don't have someone that cares about that student, that's going to check on them. If teachers are always feeling like, okay, no matter when I call, I'm going to get fussed at, and I'm trying to help their kid or whatever. So the parents and the teachers have to work together. It shouldn't be us against them. It should be about the child, but at the same time, kids gonna be kids. So sometimes kids do stuff, and then sometimes teachers are overwhelmed and stressed. When I was coming up, it was 31, 32 kids in the classroom. Now that's too much, because I visit classrooms and with 20 kids all jumping all everywhere, I'm like, I can't do it. I'm trying to figure out how did we do it, but it's just a different time. And coming up, we had the Atari. we had that game. We had the jam box. And we took the jam box and we had it on our shoulder and played it, and we danced on the cardboard boxes. This is the 80s with breaking, and hip hop dancing was popular. But now these kids, you tell them to go to their room, try to punish them. They got the iPad, they got the laptop, they got the TV, they got, I remember the Walkman. Some kids don't even know what that is. That's the cassette player with the headphones. Now, actually, I still have a Walkman and it still works, but now you got MP3 players. Phones now, you can take pictures, record, play music. So we didn't have all of that. But at the same time, I see kids now with cell phones and stuff like that, and it's like, when I was coming up, we didn't have cell phones, but when your mom called, you heard her, and my dad used to always tell me, be home by dark 30. What that means is be home in the house, not on the porch, in the house before the street light comes on. Dark 30. You don't want to get caught. That was a whooping with a belt if you're not back before the street lights come on. You can be on the other street and you can see it kind of flickering. You got to make your way and be in the house before it fully comes on. But at the same time, we could be gone from early morning until it's time for street lights, and that's hours and hours. And your parents didn't worry about if somebody kidnapped us, if something happened to us, because we were always at a friend's house, or we were playing in the street, we was at the store. So now if a kid is gone for a long period of time, we're wondering, okay, did something happen to that kid? What's going on? Now this is with phones. Back then we could be gone all day and we didn't have phones, but we were okay. We didn't worry about, is somebody gonna snatch us, even though you heard about cases of kids getting kidnapped and stuff like that or whatever, but we stuck together. But now if a kid just is gone for a long period of time, you start to wonder, okay, is that kid okay? Did they get in trouble? So it's just a different time. And I can remember in working at Parks and Rec, they wanted us, as one of the camp leaders, they want us to talk to kids about stranger danger and what to look for and stuff like that. And I remember the police officers coming to our school in elementary telling us stranger danger, this is what a stranger looks like. And sharing it with the kids, some of the kids, they were joking around, oh, stranger danger, whatever. And so I really didn't get the kids' attention till I said, do any of y'all know who John Walsh is? Oh, that's the man America's Most Wanted. I said, okay, now that I have your attention, I have to talk to you about stranger danger and what to look for. I said, do any of y'all know why he started America's Most Wanted? No, he just want to help catch bad people. I said, no, do you understand why? And they're like, no. I said, let me tell you about his son, Adam. And I said, the reason why I remember this so well is because him and I, were born in 1974. I said, because that's the story, it always stayed with me. And so I began to share with them how they were playing. He was playing, watching older kids in Sears, And I explained to them, Sears, even Sears here in Hancock, a long time ago, used to have video games right by the front door. And I used to be one of those kids that didn't have money, but I just wanted to act like I was playing the games or whatever. I said, but his two older kids got in trouble, and a young security guard kicked all the kids out of the arcade in Sears. And so that's how his son was out of the store. I said, so that could have been me, because I was one of those kids in the arcade at Sears here in Austin. And, a security guard could have kicked us out instead of coming to try to find my mom or whatever. But that's how his son was outside. That's how he was able to get kidnapped. I said, so that's why I'm talking to you about stranger danger, that no adult should come and ask a kid for directions. And so I had to explain it to her, but that's the only way I could get their attention, because I was trying to tell them about stranger danger. They were laughing and clapping and beating on the desk, but I had to bring it home to them real life, like, okay, this is why I'm talking to you about this, because I don't want anything to happen to you. So no adult should ask you to help come find a puppy, to help come find a cat, want to give you candy or anything, because that's out of the ordinary. You're a kid. You might know the answer, but an adult shouldn't want you to come over to the car and ask you how to get somewhere. And so with me being able to tell them that, I grabbed their attention, because we had already worked it out with Parks and Rec that they would send an undercover to the park to see if they were paying attention to what I said about stranger danger. And so we set it up. Parks and Rec park officer came dressed up with a leash. Now, I wasn't there. I took off that day because he was going to come surprise. I wasn't even going to know the day that he came. So he came the day that I was off. And, the kids were like, because I told them, I said, stay together. I said, the faster kids, run and go get help. Run and call somebody or whatever. I said, but y'all need to stay together. And the faster kids run to go get help or call. And so one of the kids decided, oh, I'll help you find your puppy. And the other said, no, he's a stranger, and grabbed him and started pulling him. And then all the kids took off running. So they passed because they remembered what I said. But had I not shared the story, the sad story of Adam Walsh, then they probably wouldn't have got it. They probably would have went off with him, and he probably would say, okay, look, I'm an undercover officer, and we're trying to make sure that the camp leaders are teaching you about stranger danger. But it's and even John Walsh said in one interview, he said he would have rather have had his son afraid and telling him, this is why you don't go off with strangers, because we might not ever see you again. He said he didn't have that talk with his son. So I'm in an awesome position where I can tell kids the raw truth. This is why your parents say this, because they don't want to see something happen to you, and everybody thinks it won't happen to them. So yeah. Where am I going from here? Well, I want to do more art exhibits, more community events, probably go back in the studio. At one time, back in 2009, I had my own local access TV show called Exposure. So maybe it's time for me to get back on local access TV to do some messages, because I am a minister. So to maybe preach a couple of messages, or I've got an invitation to probably, come on the radio. Maybe I need to do my own radio show, or maybe my own YouTube channel. I don't know. The possibilities are endless. I don't want to limit myself, because I've been blessed to have wisdom beyond years, I'm told, or old soul is what they call me. So yeah, can't be still. I got to be doing something positive to uplift and encourage people to have their full potential, come out.